All right, everybody. So, for our next review of the day, we're going to discuss the Zendaya and Robert Pattinson movie, The Drama. The Drama is directed by Christopher Burgelli there. He did another movie a couple years ago there with Nicolas Cage. He did a movie called Dream Scenario, which I saw and I think I reviewed for the channel. And I liked it. I thought it was all right there. And then in this his new film, The Drama, there, it's discussing a couple there that is about to get married there, and then during the week of their wedding, a big revelation is made by one of them there that kind of changes the dynamic of the relationship there. Now they're unsure if they want to go through with the wedding there. All this, I guess drama for what I mean is happening around them with their friends there and themselves. And it's just about it's this darkly humorous movie about this very serious incident there and how they're kind of going to navigate through it. I have to be kind of vague about it because, I mean, the drama is kind of the crux of the whole thing, so it's hard to really discuss the movie without mentioning what that thing is. But yeah, so that's kind of you have here. And in the movie, I think it does a great job at blending a lot of kind of the darkness and the humor, and how that all kind of operates together. I think it does a great job at that. I think a lot of the performances in it are very good. And I think that somebody said this is going to be a really great test for media literacy if people can understand what's kind of going on or happening in this movie there, which I think is a big thing. But yeah, this movie got leaked online weeks before it was out. Luckily, I was able to avoid the spoilers on it, so I didn't know exactly what the big moment or big thing was there of this or what was going to happen. So that was also very good because when that thing does get revealed, it is kind of a what the fuck kind of moment there of it, and where the movie proceeds to go, and especially when the wedding when you do get to actually see the wedding. What happens in that wedding sequence also is kind of one of I like when shit just goes crazy at the end, shit just kind of happens and it's like just one thing. It's like a snowball effect of just one thing kind of happens after the other, which I thought was really good too. That was really kind of cringeworthy there what happens. But yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts on The Drama, man?
So you said we this is a spoiler review, or
we'll do non-spoiler first, give a rating, and then we'll do a spoiler talk after that.
Okay. Non-spoiler. Yeah. The trailers and the posters and everything, I thought this was going to be a movie about Robert Pattinson being this dorky guy that swung way out of his league and got the girl, and it was almost happily ever after. But because the trailer makes it clear that Zendaya does something wrong, I'm thinking, okay, maybe she's like a really dark bridezilla. Maybe she was nice at first, but now that she has him, it's too late. Say we're getting married. This is it. She switches up on him, becomes someone abusive. I don't know, but I was wrong. The movie, I was not prepared for the turn the movie does take. It shocked me. It took me by surprise, and it kind of sucks the air out of not in a bad way, but out of the air out of the entire movie. Once we get to that scene and we find out what she did, the entire movie changes. So I was like, and like you said about balancing the dark with the humor, they do a good job, because I can clearly identify the jokes in this film, but because of what they're joking about, or because of what the joke is about, I'm like, I feel uncomfortable laughing. I'm sitting in the theater in my seat, like what Nick said in his Letterboxd review. It made my skin crawl. I'm like, this movie made me feel really uncomfortable, and as I said in my Letterboxd review, I struggled with it because of what I do, because my occupation. Yeah, this movie made me really uncomfortable, and I was having a tough time. I was like in my seat, cringing and squirming. I was so uncomfortable, and I think that's what the movie if we're talking about media literacy, I think that was the intention, to make you feel uncomfortable, because how can you not, because the overall execution, obviously everyone who knows looks at her differently from that point on, especially Robert Pattinson. He starts, no spoilers, but literally the way he sees her changes. And yeah, the movie is very successful in that way. It's classic A24. I love how like the score is like sprinkled around the movie, and it has that light fleeting sound that like these films tend to have, whether they're like a psychological film or a thriller, or just a dramatic film. It kind of like Marty Supreme has it. Again, Uncut Gems has it. Zola has it. Just, I guess, the kind of score that kind of follows anxiety really well. It has that. Editing, I thought the way this film was cut together, I noticed that the way it was, yeah, the way it was cut together was really really good. I don't have the name of the editor, but I know the person who did the score is Daniel Pemberton from Spider-Verse, and of course
Oh,
Project Hail Mary. So
okay.
so yeah, that guy, he's also quietly cooking. I know we give a lot of praise to Ludwig for his like grand scale scores, but Daniel Pemberton is like a sleeper hit kind of guy,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, also the movie looks great. It's a wedding in New York, so it's there's a certain level of glamour to this film. It's not a spoiler. In the trailers, they're practicing their dancing for the wedding. They're practicing their speeches, their vows. They're curating a menu, like they're tasting drinks and planning how, it's a big New York wedding. And yeah, I I did give it 4 stars. It is a great film. It's one of my favorite of the year. Project Hail Mary is still my number one. Our friend in the middle is from Materialists. She was the one who um,
Oh,
uh,
she was the client.
she was a client who called.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So again, New York City love story. Yeah, just has that kind of has that kind of energy. Yeah, if it's A24, it has to be good.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I did. I feel weird saying I love the film, but I did love the film. But it is a very challenging, uncomfortable watch. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, did you feel? Did you see? You saw Good Look, Have Fun, Don't Die, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Because they touch on some similar things in this movie, and they go hard. They go harder in that than they do in this about the certain thing in it.
Have
Um,
fun, don't
and,
die.
yeah, Good Look, Have Fun, Don't Die. Yeah, with Sam
Good luck,
Rockwell.
have fun, don't die. That's the title.
Yeah. So they go further with something in this that this movie tackles. But yeah, Daniel Pemberton mentioned, yeah, the music, the score is really good with this. Performance across the board, like I said, is all really good. The look of the movie, obviously New York filming. Yeah, because I think it was New York, or was it Boston? I think
New York.
it
It's
was
not,
New York. Okay.
for sure, New York.
Okay.
Oh, the new Sam Rockwell movie.
Yeah.
Oh no, was it good?
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit. I mean, it didn't do that well in the box office, but I
Yeah,
liked it quite a bit.
I like Sam Rockwell. I was gonna see it, but I didn't get to. Yeah, I got away
Yeah.
from it. It happens.
So the look is really good of it as well there.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're, waiting for kind of what that thing is going to happen there. And you see kind of the opening of it is like their meet cute, like their moment where they meet each other and everything like that. And then people are, analyzing everything with it, like the book she was reading, like, is that a real book? And people were trying to investigate that. It's like, no, it's not a real book. The author of the book, it's, you could say, because the fake author of the fake book is Harper Ellison. So it's like taking two authors of that and then kind of seems like it's putting it together. But then the things that it tackles in this movie, kind of the racial social commentary in it, also just from also the, Robert Pattinson's character who's using his natural accent, you know what I mean, in it. It's kind of funny to see Robert Pattinson use his natural accent because he always does all these other weird voices and using American accent and all the other things. But it's kind of weird when you actually see him use it here. But just that distinction between Americans and like Europeans and like the different cultures there and kind of how those things clash, and that's kind of brought into it as well there, which I think is quite interesting. So yeah, it kind of works on that level as well. There, how they kind of play that, and kind of how they play it. And yeah, I mean, in my audience, I didn't see it with a huge crowd, but there's that moment I played in the from the teaser there that has the woman from the Materialist there, the photographer. When that scene came up, especially what it comes after, people were dying laughing. People were going nuts. I mean, people were laughing their asses off with that. Did you have that type of reaction in the theater at all? Did you see
during
that?
during which part?
Like the part in the movie where they're going to the photographer,
Mhm.
and they're doing their photo shoot, their wedding photos. Did you? Because like when that scene came up, especially what it comes after, people were dying laughing.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. After the reveal, and Pattinson is just visibly uncomfortable. Yes, yeah. What's annoying for me is when I go to the AMC app to get my seat
Mhm.
early, I get like dead in the middle. I like dead in the middle, middle of the row, like in the middle of the auditorium, and I'm always like one of the first people. I get there and someone just like a group of people are like next to me. I'm like, I tried really hard to be by myself. And so yeah, my theater wasn't packed, but there was like a good amount of people because, like if you're aware, then you're gonna see a movie with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. They're they're big stars. Men and women love them both. They're attractive in that way. Even though the movie star is kind of dead as far as attracting box office, there's still that small Zendaya's in this movie. I'm gonna go see it. But if you look at box office history, she's not a money making. You know,
Well, she is a part of two big franchises. I mean,
she
Dune and
is.
Spider
Yeah,
Man.
Spider Man. Yeah, Spider Man is massive, but Dune. They're great quality films, but they don't make the money they deserve to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
see what you say that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Challengers.
Challenges that did pretty well.
Great film. Didn't get the attention it deserved. I think it did well for its budget, right? I think it made a profit. Right?
Yeah,
Challengers.
it did pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
don't want to offend anyone, fan base. I love Zendaya. I'm just saying, the movie star thing doesn't really exist anymore. Like back in the '90s, Will Smith, Tom Cruise, that those names attracted names to the theater.
yeah, I
Made
see what
money.
you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, the superstar kind of movie, kind of
yeah.
like that doesn't really too much exist too much anymore nowadays. But yeah, I mean, it draws a good reaction. But I didn't get your so that people, yeah, that you said they did have like a big reaction in the theater, right?
Yes, yeah. There was a good amount of people in my theater, and yeah, that scene was definitely got some laughs for sure.
Yeah. So that worked really well. And people, the moments that they were supposed to laugh, people laughed. You know what I mean? There's a flashback sequence that happens, which is also very darkly humorous that people laughed at. So people
Mhm.
really responded to that really well. And the subject matter that comes up in it, I guess, I've heard of some things that maybe people having a harsh reaction to it, but that surprises me because like I mentioned in the movie Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, they bring up the same kind of subject matter, and I saw people in my theater, also people were laughing at that. People were, you know what I mean? As dark as that is, people were having a good time with that and laughing about it. So, yeah, I haven't heard too much about that. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Gonna give our rating for it, and then we're going to spoilers. I like this movie quite a bit. There, it's probably going to be on my list of one of my favorite movies of the year. I think it's funny when it has to be, it's dramatic when it has to be. The performances are really good here. The look of the movie is really good. You mentioned the score; it does have a nice score to it as well. There, and like I said, I like when things snowball, when people's lives just get fucked up, especially normal people, and then shit just starts snowballing and shit just gets kind of wild and crazy. I like shit like that, and I just laugh because it's just like it's so. It's just like, man, as long as it's not me though, so I have a good fucking time. So yeah, so that's is awesome there with that. And so I just had a great, and this was, like I said, this was a surprise for me because I didn't know anything about it coming in. Even, I'd seen the trailer for the movie, I've seen in theaters, but the trailer's kind of vague. You don't know exactly like, okay, it's people get married, but other than that, like, okay, what's supposed to be really going on here? And the like what kind of happens is very unexpected, and how they play with the things there is very well done, and it's not so on the nose or so I think in your face about it. It's very done very subtly, which I think also very works very well there, and how they play it, and you can interpret it in all these other different ways, which I think really works. So it's a movie that it's fun to really talk about there before I don't know somebody ruins it. You know what I mean? I sent you that one thing that somebody said on Letterbox, their review of it. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like okay, this is a weird one, but yeah, I liked it quite a bit there. I'd give it a I'd give it a peak. What about for you?
Yes. This movie is appropriately titled for sure. Like you said, the way it snowballs into the third act, and um, the reveal, no, non spoiler, the reveal turns into gossip, and gossip things seep out to the wrong people, and yeah, um, a uncomfortable watch. I did have a hard time watching it. I did have a hard time laughing at the dark humor, considering the subject matter. But it's still undeniably a great film. The performances, the direction, the score, the editing. It's a like quality technical. It's great. So I gave it 4 stars on Letterbox, a smooth 4 stars, and so far it's definitely gonna be in my top 10. It's only April, so we'll see. But yeah. What's the ranking again? Your scale?
So it's stream it, tune in, peak, and then this is cinema.
Peak. Yeah, I agree. Not for kids, but potentially a fun couples movie. Go with your spouse, go with your partner, go with your man, your woman, your anyone, and talk about it. See how you react to it. See how you feel in that seat in the theater with this story unfolding. And yeah, it's in theaters, and support it. A24. It's still a small studio that makes small movies, small budget movies, but over the years it's gotten a reputation, and now we're seeing bigger stars in these A24 films. It wasn't always like that. It was lesser known actors in these great films, and now, you know, it's changed.
Yeah, that's true there. All right. So, we're gonna do a spoiler talk. If people have not seen the movie, please click out now, and come back when you have seen the movie. And trust me, you wanna probably see it there, and watch it and kind of have that fresh reaction there. You know what I mean, while you're in the theater for sure.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So the spoiler of the movie. What is the drama? What is the big thing in the movie? So you have a scene here where the four characters. So you have Robert Pattinson, you have got Zendaya there. Who Robert Pattinson's character, his name is Charlie in it, and then Zendaya's character's name Emma. And then you have their two friends who are like their couple friends. And it seems like that Zendaya's character is only friends with Alana Haim's character, who's the Rachel in it, because through Robert Pattinson and then the other guy Mike in this, who's played by Mamadeo Ati there. They're Chris's double, by the way. They're very much. You don't think you kind of look like him a little bit?
I
Uh,
mean, I wish. He's a handsome guy,
you know.
Yeah. But I'm definitely a fan of his for sure. You
You
know,
know what I mean? I think so. There. Well, that's emo.
he,
That's spider
he,
punk.
he's he's taller and darker. He's just I'll never be him.
You know what I mean?
I'll never be him. But
Uh,
he's great. I want to see him in more leads.
yeah, he's really good. He's been in some stuff. Yeah, Begonia. He was in. Had a small part in that. He worked really well.
He was in
Uh,
Begonia.
oh, I'm sorry, not Begonia. He was in Kinds of Kindness. Sorry, that was that other
He
Yorgos.
was in Kinds of Kindness. Yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah.
Wade from Elemental, my favorite Pixar film. He had a small role in the last in Jurassic World Dominion. He was helping Jeff Goldblum bust Engine, the corporation.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I do remember him in that.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And now he's here. I was excited to see him in the trailer. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
big fan.
So it seems like, yeah, they're only friends because yeah, Robert Pattinson's character and him are friends.
Mhm.
So they're all sitting around, they're doing like a wine tasting type thing. And then this conversation gets sparked about what the worst thing they've ever done is, because when Robert Pattinson's and Zendaya character, when they're walking down the street, they see they think they see their DJ smoking heroin. And they kind of freak out about it, and then they talk to them about it, their friends, and they kind of go like, oh, what should we do, and should we fire her, and the wedding is in like like a couple of days, like what are we going to do about it, and they kind of discussing like, is it really that bad that she did some drugs. And then the character Mike, he's like, oh yeah, obviously you should fire, she's smoking heroin like on the street, like you should fire her. You know what I mean? And so that's when Alana Haim's character Rachel, that's when she says like, well, you can't really say anything because of what you did. And then so that's how it really all comes out. And then so Alana Haim's character Rachel, she starts explaining that Mike in his past, like he had a girlfriend and they broke up, and then there was like a rabid dog, and that he used his ex-girlfriend as like a human shield. He like shielded her, shielded himself from the dog using her. Now I'm trying to remember exactly now. Was it like he like physically like put her in front of him, or was it like he just hid behind her, or like I'm trying to exactly remember like what exactly. Or do you remember there exactly?
I think the dog attacked her first, and then he held her in place.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
Because Alana Haim's character says, "Okay, okay, so let's go around the table and everyone say the worst thing they ever did," and so he doesn't want to share because he's ashamed of it. He has a moral compass, a heart. He has shame, he has guilt, but they kind of out each other. So he uses his ex-girlfriend as a human shield. Rachel didn't know how to handle a special needs student who was having a tantrum, and she locked that child in a closet and walked away, went home, and it never came back to her, even though dad called, "Where's my child?" I don't know. Police got involved to find the kid. They found the kid, and it never got back to her. Is that her privilege? I don't know. And then we get to Robert Pattinson, and the worst thing he ever did was, I cyberbullied someone one time when I was 15, and they moved away because of it. Are you sure? I mean, maybe it could have been a coincidence. So out of the four of them, he's like the cleanest. Like he's never done anything that bad. And then we get to Zendaya. She's last. And Josh, you can. Yeah.
So it finally gets to Zendaya's character where everybody's done. It's like, okay, you gotta tell us your thing because we all told our thing. And then it finally gets to her, and then so she reveals that, well, she's like, well, when I was a girl, I was gonna commit a mass shooting, and
I was gonna shoot my school.
I was gonna shoot up my school. And then Charlie, who's Robert Pattinson, he's laughing. He's like, oh, well, you mean you like thought about it, right? You know what I mean? That's what you mean. She's like, no, I had a gun. I was gonna borrow my dad's rifle, and I was gonna get my dad's rifle. And then I was going to go to the school. I was going to shoot it up. I had a plan and everything. I had a gun. And she said that's how because her character is deaf in one ear.
1 year.
And she said that's how I ended up deaf in one ear, is because I fired the gun too close to my ear, and my ear popped and it bled and everything like that.
During target practice.
During target practice.
She's practicing her shot so she could, and she picked her. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. And she did that. So that's how she ended up deaf in one ear. So you see that, and she lied to Charlie because she told Charlie that she ended up deaf in one ear because she was born that way, and not because she was practicing with the gun. But yeah, so we see that, and everybody like is going like, what the fuck? Like, now people they had that reaction to when Emma was telling her story. I'm sorry, when Rachel was telling her story, they had that reaction because they go like, oh, well, what would have done if the police never found that kid? And she goes like, oh, I would have said something and told us like, bullshit, you wouldn't have said anything. You would have not told anybody, especially if something bad happened to the kid, like if he got hurt or he died, you wouldn't have said shit about where.
If the child's like starved overnight, or like the child harmed itself, and like just succumbed to its own wounds, anything could have happened. You locked a child in a closet at school, like that.
Yeah. So now everybody's kind of freaked out about it. and kind of concerned, but it's the Rachel character who gets really angry. She gets really upset and like almost to a point where it's like super, it seems like kind of performative, where she gets like super angry and she says, "What the fuck? You know what I mean? How dare you? You know,
Yeah.
my cousin was, you know, was in a wheelchair because of gun violence and everything like that." And she gets like super angry about it, and she's yelling. And Zendaya's character, like, she gets like so overwhelmed, she vomits, like she starts throwing up from it. And then it's like this awkward thing, and they just end the night. And that's when the scene that comes up after that, the next day, because they got to go do their wedding photos, and it's the woman saying "shot" like 50,000 times. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna shoot you here, and we're gonna shoot you there, and we're gonna shoot you over here, and we're gonna shoot you down here." And it's like Jesus.
We're gonna shoot your parents. We're gonna shoot your grandparents. They're gonna shoot you guys. Oh,
So it's like really fucking crazy. So yeah, so that's the big drama moment of the movie, is her revealing that. So it's like now it's Charlie who's trying to decide, like, do I still want to marry this woman? Is this woman a psycho? Like, you know, so they're trying to like, and it's like it's really weighing on them, this whole thing. And then Emma's character, I mean Rachel's character, she who's the maid of honor, she's backing out of the wedding. She doesn't want to do the wedding anymore, you know, the last minute. So it's like, okay, we can't not have you in the wedding because that ruins a lot of stuff. So, you know, could you still come, and all that stuff like that. But yeah, so that's kind of the big thing in the movie. And what do you think about, and people have been analyzing that moment at the wine tasting. What do you think about that moment and how they react to it? What do you think that reveals there in that situation?
um. Well, you have to remember in that moment, she was going to do it, but there was another shooting at the mall down the street. Remember that? There's a reason.
Yes.
There's a reason why she could not go through with it. She was
Yes.
gonna do it. She brought her right. She chose her targets. She had the fresh stat in her mind. Oh, it's only a mass shooting if you kill four or more people. Why do you know that? Like, whoa. That's why is that fact fresh in your mind? This is premeditated. This is very scary. Um, so, and I didn't catch that part where she lied to Charlie about why she's deaf in one ear. I didn't catch that. That's crazy. Um, I think in that moment there could have been more questions asked than compared to what Rachel did. Rachel definitely blew it out of proportion with her reaction. She was like the angriest at the table compared to everyone else. I think in that moment more questions could have could have been asked. Charlie, I think, is partially responsible because of I don't want to call him a coward. He's afraid. He's now very nervous and uncomfortable around this woman. The knife scene, the mug that says "coffee or I'll shoot." He puts it in the trash, and when she finds it, questioning about it, like he's scared. Uh, there's scenes when like they're cuddling or nestling, and it's the 15-year-old version of her because she was that's what he's seeing now. It's psychological in a way. I think Charlie could have done more in terms of investigation. That's how I feel about that particular scene. Um, and like you said, this moral high ground. I'm better than you. What I did isn't as bad. Charlie's the only one at that table who gets. He didn't do anything that terrible. Cyberbullying, yes, it's bad, but like to the degree, it doesn't sound like he was doing it that bad. Like when we see how bad Emma was being bullied, someone said, "Oh, he needs deodorant," or they pushed her into a puddle and her shoes got wet. Like she wasn't tormented. You know what I mean? It was
Like
a,
typical
a
bullying.
typical high school
Yeah.
'90s bullying. Oh, chump, like that kind of stuff. But for her to, draw red on their faces in the yearbook and like draw blood going down, like she picked her four targets, which is why she knows that stat. I'm like, this is a lot. But yeah, to answer your question, I feel like more could have been done in terms of investigation. Um, there's always room for empathy and a conversation. Obviously, she's not on. I mean, again, it's not obvious, right? Because that's the question the movie kind of poses. Is she anyone who did what she was going to do is going to say years later, "Oh, I'm not the person anymore. I was in a bad place. I changed. I'm better." That's what a psychopath would say. You know what I mean? That's always what they say, and then they do it again. So that's the scary thing about, not the scary thing, but that's the question surrounding Zendaya's character. You know, is she, what is her mental state? You know, she seems stable, yeah, as an adult, you know, and calm and not angry and not going to lash out, because in the movie when she's asked about it as a kid, oh, it's this trendy thing to do. It's the thing to do when you're having a tough time at school. It's like, do you remember that when she was talking about how it's like this it was like this aesthetic thing, this trendy, like,
Uh,
are guns in general.
yeah, okay, yeah, I think so. Because I think that's where like he brings in kind of the cultural difference between Robert Pattinson's character being European and them being Americans. Because there's like a scene where Robert Pattinson's like talking to Mike and Rachel, trying to convince them to go to the wedding again,
Yeah,
and he's saying that, I mean, you guys, I mean, that's just like American culture and guns, and like you're kind
yeah.
of, like it's not the same thing with me and all that other stuff like that. So you see that kind of brought into the movie as well there. And it's funny thing, like, so when he's talking to them about trying to convince them to come back and do the wedding, she says like, well, I'll only come back and do it if my cousin says it's okay, because
Mhm.
you know what I mean, and she approves on it, and I have to talk to her about it. And funny enough, this is also like a darkly humorous moment in the movie too. It's just not even darkly, it's just funny in general. But so Charlie actually runs into Rachel's cousin, who's the one in the wheelchair, and he goes like, "Oh, hey," and he's talking to her, and he's like, "So I was wondering, could you convince Rachel to go to the wedding?" And she's like, "Who the fuck is getting married?" Like, she has no idea who Charlie is, who
No
Emma is.
contact. No contact.
She didn't know she's not close to them. She's not close to Rachel at all. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not. We don't really talk that much." And so it's kind of like this whole big thing. She's making a big thing about her cousin. She's not even all that super close to her cousin anyway. Not to say she still couldn't be sad that her cousin ended up in a wheelchair just because they're not that close, but it just seems like
Performative.
all this big performative anger about this is like, it seems a little overblown for somebody you're not even that super close to.
Yeah.
And in that scene, I think it's in that scene before when he's trying to convince them to do the wedding, that Rachel mentions, she's talking to her husband Mike, who's, a black man, who says like, well, Mike grew up around guns, and he's like, wait, no, I didn't. He's like,
Yeah.
like, no, I fucking didn't. Like, what are you talking about? It reminded me of that moment. Did you ever see that clip? You probably haven't, but it's that football player Patrick Mahomes, and he was in an interview with his wife.
Mm.
His wife is white, and Patrick Mahomes is biracial. And it's important that I mention that because, and they've been knowing each other for like a long time, like since they were in middle school together. And then one of the questions was, "What's my favorite food?" Like Patrick Mahomes asked that to his wife, and she said, "Fried chicken." And he's like, "It's like fried chicken, fried steak, chicken fingers, chicken strips." And he's like, "No, it's Mexican food." Like, how you gonna know somebody for all these years
I've
and
seen that
not
clip.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? And he was like, "No, it's Mexican food." Like, what the fuck? So it just kind of reminded me of that. It's like, they're married, they're husband and wife, and you don't know like this guy's kind of background in life, and
His dad's a cop. That's why he's around guns.
you
Jesus.
know what I mean. Like she made it seem like that. Yeah. So yeah, and his dad's a cop too. So yeah, you got that aspect to it. And you mentioned when that gets revealed, when she mentions like, her about to commit a mass shooting. Now I'm trying to think of like, if somebody revealed that to me, like what would be my instant reaction? You know what I mean? Because it's important that she actually didn't do the thing that she was gonna do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and nobody knew what she was gonna do except for her until that moment.
Yeah.
Like her parents didn't know or anything, just her. So that's kind of an important. Like they all did the things that they said they did.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to think, like, nobody really asked too many of, like you said, follow-up questions just
Yeah.
about like, man, what were you going through like in your life that you felt like that was something you had to do or everything like that. I think afterwards, I think Charlie does mention, did she go to like therapy or anything like that? But like, yeah, it's like such a moment of there, like, what about that? And we see flashbacks of her as a girl, and we see like a little bit of her life of like she was a military brat. She was an only child. It seems like her parents really weren't all that. Maybe she was home a lot, just alone. You know what I mean, by herself. And this was a moment also that a lot of people laughed at. So we see her filming like her manifesto on a computer,
Yeah.
and then she's trying to do it, and then she's saying like, "Oh, you're probably wondering why I did it," and then there's like a update that comes on the computer that stops the recording, so she has to update the computer to do the recording again, and then there's something else that happens with the computer. Like that's just like fucking funny. Like it just like shit like that is kind of really funny and
And
everything
that's
like that.
that balance of dark humor and just dark humor. She's recording her message, like if you wonder why I did it, like that, her like you said, her manifesto, her monologue, and she gets cut off. She gets cut off twice, and just like, oh damn. And then when it happens, it cuts from her face to like a wide of just like her at her computer, like, oh man, she got it. It's funny, but just like, damn, like I feel so uncomfortable laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see that and like you said, there's another school shooting at not school, they happened at a mall. There was
At the
another mass
mall,
shooting at the
down
mall.
the street from the mall. It's like everyone at school's already in a panic mode, so she can't. So she's like the wind is taking out of her sails. Like someone stole her thunder, kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
I was gonna do it today. Like, oh, not now I can't. Like it's the there's I lost the element of surprise because everyone is now in a panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was going. So there was another shooting that happened, and there's a bunch of grief counselors and everything, the people that come because one of the kids from the school was at that mall and they died. So you see that, like, so she sees kind of like the reaction of what would happen if she actually did go through with it.
That's the scene where she kind of talks about guns being trendy and like not cool, but like almost justifying it. Like as a kid, yeah, that's the scene.
Yeah. So you see that, and then when she's talking about like, because the teacher like has a classroom discussion about guns and about why you think this happened and what people's thoughts on it. And then one of the girls in the class says like, well, it seems like just a male problem. She says, well, actually, no, because she knows all the stats and all the information.
Yeah, exactly.
And she says like, well, there's been other female shooters and this female shooter here and da-da-da. And then that raises the attention of one of the boys in the class who's like an anti-gun activist. So he invites her to like a club and everything like that. So she becomes an anti-gun activist.
Yeah.
And you see that so she dedicates her life to that. So that kind of saves her because she finds community and she finds friends or all that, which is also another thing that so she kind of does that as well there. So that was kind of interesting.
That's a big part of the movie that I think a lot of folks overlooked.
Yeah. You think a lot of people focus on that of how she became like an anti-gun activist? You think?
Yeah, I think people stayed focused because the rest of the movie stays focused on the fact that she almost shot up a school. Like the reveal takes control of the entire movie's like narrative for like until the end. But the fact that she didn't go through with it because she couldn't, but she dedicated her life to the opposite end of the spectrum. Like anti-gun violence, and that's how she found community and made friends. Because for a while, like you said, only child, military brat, it wasn't easy for her to make friends and find community. So that's an important part of the movie.
Yeah. And then when it gets to like the wedding, that's when all this shit it doesn't get it doesn't get revealed that she like almost committed mass shooting, but like all this stuff because like things like I said, things are spiraling. Like you said, Charlie's trying to think like, do I still want to marry her? And then when they get to the wedding, then it's a thing where before that, so there's a co-worker that he is working with. It's this character. It's this woman named Misha there, who's played by Hallie Gates. Who somebody said something funny about Hallie Gates in the movie. They said she looked like if you take Emma Stone and Molly Gordon, and if they like ran into each other. I mean, they do look very similar to each other. But yeah, she's like his coworker, and he asked her like the same. He kind of gives her like a scenario, like a hypothesis there of like, well, if you hypothetical scenario there of like if your partner almost committed a mass shooting, what would you do? Would you forgive them, or would you? She's like, well, I would probably call the police, and they're probably psycho. And then that's when he gets all like angry, and he goes like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? And he starts like crying, and then he kisses her. and then they start making out, and they're about to have sex.
Hmm.
But he stops himself. He's like, "Oh, like what the fuck am I doing?" And then she's also at the wedding. And then Zendaya's character, she's freaking out because she's hearing all these whispers and everything around. So she thinks maybe people are talking about what she did, or and she hears Misha character talking to somebody about like a school shooting. So she automatically thinks, oh, she knows. So she invites her, like they go to a private room together along with Robert Pattinson's character. And Misha thinks that Robert Pattinson told her about the cheating. So then she just immediately blurts out like, "Oh well, we made out and it meant nothing." And then the way she even kind of tells the story is a little like he forced himself on me, and you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
we
Instead of
saw her voluntarily pull up her dress, like,
yeah,
you know, yeah.
like he did kiss her first, but she was into it. You know what I mean?
She was about it. She was about it. Yeah.
She was definitely into it, but she tries to put it more on him, and then that's what she obviously Zendaya's character didn't know that, and then she's angry at him for that, and then so he's like, "What the fuck?" And then keep in mind her husband's out there. Misha's married,
Yeah.
and then we learned about her character. She cheated on her boyfriend because I think he asked her what's the worst thing she did, and
Mhm.
she said she cheated on her boyfriend who was a good guy. And I
Mhm.
think the guy she's married to now is maybe the guy that she cheated with. I think so. And he's like not that good of a guy, not as good as maybe the first one. So that's also a thing. So he's at the wedding too. And then Robert Pattinson's character, he gives this speech about like, and he's rambling, and he's going on and on. He's like, I don't care if you killed people or if you did it, I still would love you. And you know what I mean? I don't care what these people think, and I love you. And he goes on and on. And then he mentions like what he did with Misha. He's like, I don't, I'm sorry what I did with her. And then her husband's there, and he goes like, what the fuck? And so he gets up, and then we see that he fights him at the wedding. Like he headbutts the shit out of him, and they fight at the wedding. It's just like this huge thing, and all this stuff. Like it's like, yeah, it goes crazy. So it's like the fucking thing's ruined. Like it's like this terrible thing.
Yeah. It all snowballed, like you said. And that's the drama. It's very, very dramatic.
Yeah. And then the way it ends is that Zendaya, she disappears because she's so embarrassed and she's crying, and like she just leaves, and he's trying to find her. And they had before in the movie they had said like, okay, what should we do after the wedding? And they kind of had this thing of like, oh well, let's go to like a diner. It'd be funny because like how Academy Award winners go to In and Out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'd be kind of like a funny thing. And so
to get fast food and like really fancy clothes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be like kind of funny that way. So he goes to the diner, and then Misha also walks into the diner, and then they kind of they reintroduce themselves to each other because they've been trying to do that throughout the whole movie. Kind of like I think Emma tries to do it first of like, hey, let's just do a clean slate again, let's start over, and then that's how the movie ends. Is that they kind of reintroduce themselves to each other, and we see kind of that's it, and then the movie ends.
They do that role play thing that they tried at the beginning. They tried early in the movie. After the reveal, he has trouble, being intimate with her, and he can't perform. And so she's like asking if he needs help, and he's trying to get it up himself until they take a break from the bedroom, and they try doing the sexy role play thing. Oh, what's your name? Oh, I'm so and so. Oh, do you come here often? And it's not working. They do that again at the end of the movie, and as they're like, reconciling and getting, trying to mend things. Yeah. It's a nice ending. I was so curious. I'm like, how does this movie end? Like, how does this movie end? And that was a very nice ending considering the dark subject matter.
Yeah. So I thought, some people were a little maybe dissatisfied. I saw with the ending, but I liked it. I thought
I love the ending. I needed some levity. And it was nice. There's a poster for the movie where he's beaten up. That's why I thought, before seeing the movie, no context, I thought, oh, did Zendaya do that to him? But no, it was a jealous husband. So.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what happens. So it just ends there. Did you see this poster as well? The one where she's wearing the ring and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody said like, so if you look at like the refrigerator, like on there, they have this same photo, but instead it's like just her two fingers in it, so it looks like she's pointing a gun at him, like on the refrigerator and everything like that. So I didn't catch that. Maybe I got to go watch the movie again. I got to go see it. But so if you look at like the photo on the refrigerator, it's not
Yeah,
like that. It's like with two fingers. There's like a gun she's pointing at
yeah.
him. So I thought that was
So, do you remember they get a new DJ, and while he's setting up, something goes wrong with the sound, and it sounds like a gunshot?
yeah.
I jumped. I jumped in my. I was, oh my God. I was in my seat. I jumped in my seat. That shit was scary.
Oh
Don't do
yeah.
that. Don't do that, bro. Like that was too much. Like this is after the reveal, so coffee or shoot mug is in the trash. I can't do it. The DJ is making gunshot sounds with his set. The photographer, I'll shoot you, I'll shoot you, I'll shoot you. I'm like, this is like they're making jokes, they're making light of it, and I feel it's very well done. Yeah,
Yeah. And so it's interesting, yeah, like you said, because the Emma character, she is very, I mean, that type of person who would definitely say, like, I mean, Rachel, who would definitely say, like, I can't be racist. My husband's black. You know
yeah,
what I mean? She's definitely like that type of figure there in it. And the fact that, I mean, because it seems like, I mean, yeah, everybody was kind of freaked out about it, but she really made it like a big deal. Like she really blew it
yeah.
up.
Just
a- And
that morality thing, like, oh, I'm better than you. Whoa, like what I did wasn't as bad. Like
yeah.
like shame on you. That kind of thing.
And do you think that they were ever really friends? Ever? Because it's like there's a scene before that of like when she's talking just with her female friend, because it's like her and then there's another woman. They're sitting with Zendaya's talking to about like plans for the wedding and everything like that. And she mentioned, I think she said like Rachel's character mentioned like, oh, well, you're ugly when you cry. That's like that's a very weird shit thing to say. Like, why would you say that? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Their relationship didn't always seem uh, the most earnest.
Mm, yeah. So I don't know if there was some jealousy going on there or what, but
Probably.
yeah. But you kind of had that in there with that kind of aspect. But yeah, I mean, she kind of just made it all about herself
Mhm.
when you had this very emotional reveal of her saying this of like kind of, how I mean, you got to be in a very emotionally disturbed place if you were gonna, almost commit a mass shooting, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of very disturbed kind of place there.
Yeah.
Um, and the director of this, have you followed any of the drama with the director of the movie? Like
No, no. What do you do?
so stuff about this movie's been getting leaked and also some other things. So the director, he wrote an essay. Somebody found that he wrote an essay there about him confessing to being in a relationship with a 16-year-old girl when he was in his 20s.
Oh,
Uh, so I don't know if this movie, because it's kind of in a way about kind of like cancel culture and people thinking like kind of degrees of things that they've done bad in their life. Is like, how can you judge me if you did this bad thing?
mhm.
So I don't know if this movie's kind of a reaction a little bit to like him kind of doing something like that. I mean, this stuff he already wrote in the essay way before, and the stuff that got revealed about the essay just happened. So I'm not saying he did the movie as a reaction to people reacting about what he had in it, but I'm just saying, has he ever he's maybe encountered that aspect of people going like, man, that's kind of fucking weird that you dated a 16-year-old girl before, and him going like, how can you say I'm weird for dating a 16-year-old girl if you cheated on your taxes? You know what I mean? Who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? I was like, I don't think those two things are maybe
It's
the
not
same.
the same. Actually.
Like,
Not the same.
I don't know. So I don't know if it's I don't know if he's kind of he's doing that in here. I don't know.
He could be. He could be. I didn't
Yeah.
with that in mind with context that could definitely be his way of speaking to that.
Yeah. And it's also like people, you mentioned the subject matter of a school shooting there. So you have the Parkland survivor, Jackie Corin, who commented on the movie there.
Hmm.
He said definitely an interesting strategy. That's a way to word it there. So you people can read this article from the Hollywood Reporter when she kind of gives it there. You know what I mean? And they she liked it. Some I've seen some school shooting survivors said that they liked the movie. They thought it was
Hmm.
pretty well done there.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And how like gun violence, gun culture is kind of, kind of just a part of American culture and how that's infiltrated society there in a way,
Yeah.
with that kind of aspect of things as well. But like I said, in the movie Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, there's like a whole comedic subplot about that.
Okay.
And really joking hard. So yeah. But that was kind of wild there with that. So um Man. Two Peaks, man, for the drama. Really good movie. I liked it, and yeah, so I had a good time with it. Any final thoughts on it you want to say?
Um, it is genuinely a great film. Um, it's one of Zendaya and Robert Pattinson are individually great actors, and after stepping away from like big blockbuster IP stuff, they always choose these not these really interesting roles and interesting stories that just feel different, and they're bold, and I can always appreciate that. Um, yeah, I work in a elementary school, and school shootings is a major issue in this country, which is why it's gotten to the point where it's normalized enough where it's now in our media, which is really sad. But yeah, I love the movie. I love the movie, but it definitely challenged me as a member of the audience. But it doesn't change the fact that it's a very quality film. Definitely like Project Hail Mary is my number one. This is like number two.
Mm,
So yeah, it's peak. It's 8:24. It's less than 2 hours long. It's it'll keep you it'll keep you engaged. I can say that much. And yeah, I do recommend it. It's in theaters. Go see it now.
yeah. Radiant Futurity said, I honestly thought it was just a rom com based on the trailer. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have that tone from it, definitely, just from the trailer. Yeah, but yeah, so that was our thoughts there.